Yay!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of ClarinetCast, the official podcast of the International Clarinet Association. My name is Sam Kopek, and I'll be your host today. I'm joined by the lovely Seunghee Lee, also known as Sunny Kang, to talk about music entrepreneurship and how to market yourself as a classical musician. So, hi, Sunny, how are you doing?
I'm good. Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Of course. It was so nice seeing you at Clarinet Fest, and thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast and talk to us a little bit. So, before we get started, I'll give our listeners a little introduction into your background. So, Sunny is an international clarinet soloist, recording artist, and entrepreneur. She's the founder of Musica Sol, an independent classical record label, sheet music publisher, and creative concert presenter based in New York City. She gives back to the community by hosting concerts for a cause and is a sought after speaker, focusing on overcoming perfectionism and having a healthy practice mindset. A fun fact is that she's also an award-winning golf player. There's nothing she can't do. She can do it all. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I love the golf part. That always brings me a smile because it's so much fun.
Of course, you talk about it so passionately. I love it. So some people may be confused by the term music entrepreneurship. So I wanted to hear your take. What does music entrepreneurship mean to you, and how would you define it?
Yeah, that is, I didn't even know what a music entrepreneurship was back when I started my business, but it's a term that I think it came around, became very popular, very trendy within the last, I don't know, ten years, especially nowadays. But when I looked up in the dictionary, it says it's a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses taking on greater than normal financial risks in order to do so. So, for me, music entrepreneurship is like really thinking business in music, and being a business person and having a business mindset when we're performing with our, playing our clarinet, and creating ways to set up some income stream for us. Yeah, so that's in a nutshell. That's what I think music entrepreneurship means.
That's so important. And I think it's really cool that you said you're setting up streams of income for yourself, because that's how you create a career as a musician full time. That's the way to do it. So that's awesome. I've found it really rare for colleagues in the classical music world to learn more in depth about the commercial music industry. So at what point did you decide to learn more about the commercial industry?
Yeah, I'm a recording artist. So a long time ago, I started. Released my debut album back in 2000 when I thought that was my sort of a retirement album because I got married and started having kids, and I knew that once I started having kids, it'll be like I can't perform at the highest level. So I decided to put all that passion into my debut album called Brava. And 10 years passed by raising kids, and then I realized, oh my gosh, who am I? I'm still a musician. I love playing music. And during that time off, that's when I became a golfer as a Sunny Kang, and that's a whole revolutionary. I was just so fascinated by finding out about myself in a whole different light. And but through that, I got to see myself in a more see music at a distance, and see myself like in a third person's perspective as a musician. Who am I as a Seunghee Lee, as a clarinet player and a musician? And I realized that I love clarinet. I love playing the clarinet, and then I slowly came back to creating another recording in 2011 called Embrace, and that's when things started happening because the first two albums I created was through a commercial record label, and I learned a lot through that process. And during that time, you get to realize, during the second album was 2011. During that time, the DIY, the do it yourself, kind of became very trendy. And I thought, well, why not do it myself for my album as well? Because I wasn't very happy with how commercial labels represented my album. And once I released that album, I became one of like thousands of, artists that's on their label. And it's so hard to take care of every single one of those people on their album. So I decided, for my third album, I'm gonna just do it myself. I try it, why not, right? And that's how I really started getting to know about this music industry. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's like let's stop there and then you talk.
Of course, no, that's so interesting to learn about. And I think it's really awesome that you kind of put yourself in the position to be open-minded and learn about all the different, roles that go into producing your own CD. Like, that's a lot of work. So kudos to you. And you've garnered a lot of listeners on Spotify. I was talking to you earlier today, and I think I saw over 17,000. And you have a really great fan base. So that was really incredible to see. I'm curious what you learned while recording about yourself. I feel like sometimes when I record, I notice things that I didn't notice when I was practicing and things like that. So how do you feel when you listen back on your recordings?
Yeah, oh gosh. The recording, it's like listening to your own voice, right? We're like, oh, we cringe and we're listening to our own voice. But it was like that in the beginning. When you listen to yourself, nowadays we have the phone and I encourage everybody to record yourself and listen to yourself and just face yourself. Because what's going on in our head, what we think we're playing is not actually what you hear in a recording, right? So that's the factual part, is that you have to face yourself and really fact check, am I actually outputting what I'm thinking, right? And when you hear yourself back, it's like, oh my God, that's not what I meant to do, but it's coming out that way. So how can I fix it? So that's one really big lesson that I learned by recording myself, especially leading towards the actual recording sessions, is that I just constantly like recorded myself back in the day where we had cassette tapes and things like that. But I recorded myself, played myself over and over, and I realized, oh my God, why am I playing flat here on the throat tones when I know I'm raising, you know what I mean? So all those little things you have to make sure that those are checked. So because in the actual recording, you can't hide. It's all there. And people say, oh, you can manipulate a lot of things on that. No, that is not true. You in a clarinet, you hear every single little thing. So you yourself have to play it. There's no auto tuning or anything like that for clarinet, I don't think. And so yeah, I became a much better musician, much better performer by getting into this recording process.
That's awesome. I feel like that's a great advice that a lot of people could use right now, especially since we're still transitioning out of the COVID era of recording a lot of things, recording college auditions, especially for students like me, or even upper level pre-screenings for jobs and things like that. That's super helpful insight from somebody who's done it themselves. And to record and be a recording artist, you really have to be a good problem solver. So that's a really good skill to have. So I want to talk a little bit more about Musica Solis. How did you get started doing that? Did that evolve from your DIY productions of your own CDs? And how did you partner with other artists to continue marketing them?
Yeah, that is like a loaded question. It's like how
Yeah.
many years, 15 years of work in one question. But, Musica Solis really came out of my passion for creating my own work, representing myself, representing my work, because I do this lecture called "You Are the Company," right? And now in the days of we have internet right at our fingertips, so there are no limits as to the opportunities that you can create yourself and create for yourself, and the income streams that you could create for yourself as becoming a music entrepreneur. And I strongly believe that your ideas, that's all these creativity ideas that's floating around your head, are your assets, right? And when you follow through with some of these crazy ideas, you might be very surprised as to what you get on the other end. And so, Musica Sol is a name. It's a why does Apple became with Apple? Why does Coca-Cola? It's a name, right? You could go with your own name, but Seunghee Lee is not an easy name to spell per se. And as a classical label, I didn't want to go with Sunny Music. That was my idea in the beginning, Sunny Music. But my husband said, for classical music, maybe you want to change to something else. And then he says, what about Musica Solis? I said, what does that mean? He goes, it means sunny music in Latin. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. So that's how I yeah, that's how I started Musica Sol. And I keep telling everybody that if you have an idea, you are the best spokesperson for yourself, right? And these music projects nowadays, you don't need a record label. Basically, you don't. You could bypass that middle person. That's the you could bypass that, and there's so many ways to put yourself out there, put your music out there, and even on SoundCloud, you can monetize on SoundCloud, and it doesn't have to be like a perfect recording either. You never know what people like about about anything. You just have to be bold and take risks and put yourself out there and see what you get on the other side.
That's amazing. I feel like that definitely rings through true with the age of social media and everything. And I know I personally follow a lot of accounts of people practicing or working towards a goal and just them sharing something that they're continuing to, follow their passions and do what they love is always inspiring to me. So that's amazing. I feel like you do a great job of marketing yourself, and I always tell this funny story. Whenever I look up clarinet in my GIFs to post even on my own social media or for my studio at UM, I always see your GIFs pop up with your clarinet, and it's so cute. It's my favorite thing ever. So I wanted to ask what advice you would give to other musicians who want to continue building their online presence.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked about that marketing aspect of this business. And marketing can be equal to sales, and I think that's a misconception. I mean, you got to embrace market. I love it. You got to think of marketing as just like talking to people. Suppose you're not a clarinet player and you own a coffee shop, okay? And if you have a coffee shop, you open up a nice coffee shop. Are you just gonna sit in your coffee shop in a counter and just hope for like people to come into the coffee shop? No, you're gonna go out there and like give out free samples or put some posters or nice sparkly thing on the outside because you're competing against Starbucks. Okay, what makes
Right.
you what makes your coffee shop so special that they want to come into your store? It's same with music, and your music is that there's so many amazing musicians out there. Martin Frost, everybody like Yo-Yo Ma, Joshua Bell. But everybody has something special to say. You have to think that everybody has a different voice. They just haven't heard you. They just haven't heard you. And so that's all part of marketing, is that you just sharing yourself, authentically. You just sharing yourself without any, barriers or why does TikTok and Instagram, why all these like stars become, accounts become viral? Because they're just genuine. They just like go out there with their messed up hair, or like, taking a selfie, because it's so real. It's so genuine. And I know as a classical musician, it's so hard to put down that guard and become ourselves, and we need to look perfect and all that. But I think, that's I think the marketing part of if you think marketing as something fun and something that you just want to share, like give free samples of coffee, or then that could itself can become something. So it's how creative you can become when you think of marketing. That's going to bring you results. So everybody think of marketing as something fun, something that you could share with other people. Like you're having a big party, and what's gonna attract people to come to your party.
I think that's such a good perspective, and I love the sharing mindset because social media is kind of a way for us to connect to each other. And so, off of that, I was wondering, how do you feel about making connections in the music industry, especially after COVID? I know a lot of it has been like virtual networking, and it was great to see everyone at ICA in the clarinet community. But how have you been able to meet music industry contacts and learn from people who may be in a slightly different field and could provide some educational content to you?
Okay. It's not like one size fits all, right? It really depends on what you're trying to present. Like if you're looking for, let's say, I don't know, I'm just as an example, if you're seeking a professor position in a university or something, you would not be like, you wouldn't be doing the same thing as like posting on TikTok and some crazy posts and things like that. There's different levels or different areas how you market yourself, how you present yourself, right? And so the best idea, best advice, I don't know if it's the best advice, but what I would suggest is to everybody is that what are you trying to present to people? What is it that you're trying to do? You have to identify that thing that you're trying to present, that position, that job. What is it that you want? You have to, people have hard time what they want, they to identify what do they want. Oh, I just want to be famous. Oh, I just want to be doing this. I want to be a soloist. I want to be playing in an orchestra. That's all great, but it's too vague. You got to become very, very specific. And it's all about self. You got to know yourself. You got to go into yourself and say, okay, you got to spend a lot of time, writing out, listing out, what is it that I want? What is it, 5-year goal, 10-year goal? What do I want to do? And then you got to be very detailed as to come to that point, like, this is what I want to do. Even if it's next week or next year, this is what I want to do. And then you unfold the plan according to that plan, that goal.
I love
I know.
that. I would also say not to limit yourself because in my experience, I was thinking about going into college as just a performance major for clarinet. And as although I still love that and continue to play all the time, I'm studying music industry as kind of a learning academic side to the music industry while continuing to play. And I feel like it's teaching me a lot because I'm getting both sides, the practical knowledge and the experience of playing in an ensemble and having studio class and professors and everyone teach you and pour into you from both sides, the academic and the musical. So I really love that. Cool. As a music industry student, I also participated in the Grammy U mentorship program. I loved my mentor. It was Kenny Cordova. He was a really great resource for me and a connection to the Recording Academy. So I wanted to congratulate you on your recent appointment to the New York chapter governor position. And I wanted to ask what your goals were for the new position, especially as a classical musician representing us in that role.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, all very new to me right now because I was actually nominated to become to run for the governor, and I got voted in to become the one of the governors in the New York chapter, and so it's all new. We just had our second meeting, and so I haven't really took on any projects or anything like that, but I'm just, but even just from the get-go, looking at all the lists of people that are on the board on the Recording Academy, I'm just like so honored because there's so many musicians, great pop musicians, rock musicians, metal, hard metal music that you could learn from, right? And it's all about, like, everybody has this passion for music, creating music. And although I think I'm very classical, as a classical musician, I don't see that many, maybe I don't know that many classical musicians on the board of governors, but I just feel like, oh my gosh, I could learn so much from the pop world, and yeah, right now I'm just really enjoying this initial part of getting to know people and looking forward to taking on some projects that will open up the classical music world.
That's amazing. I saw that and I was so happy that we had some representation in that um, just caliber of music and the music business, people that are in that role. You're right, we could learn a ton from them, and I look forward to learning more about that as well as that progresses. So that's awesome. Um, what is your advice to clarinetists who want to get more involved in the business side of music as well as continuing to perform, whether it be starting chamber ensembles or starting to just do gigs? But what would you tell a young person like me who's trying to get more into the business side of music?
Yeah, like when we first started talking about this business side of music, I used the word taking risks, right? I mean, all business have to take some risks in their business, and when you spend these finances on marketing, like doing advertisement, there's no guarantee that you're gonna get that much back, right? So I want to as classical musicians, we're just so dedicated, we're so diligent on practicing and making everything perfect and all that. And I like to just open up the mindset from like that fixed mindset of it has to be this way to like the growth mindset, like being flexible, being more open-minded and trying different things, not only classical music, but like I said, like what about, like, why don't we try heavy metal and see what that feels like? Why don't we try some new music? And so just opening up that whole genre of music, even like studying a different instrument, studying from a different teacher, not just clarinet teacher, but maybe you could get a lesson from an opera teacher, singer teachers, or violin teachers, or cellists, or double bass, just to see from their perspective how they approach music, right? Instead of only the top teachers in our industry. So that, yeah, I advise everybody to take on that growth mindset, and look for different ways to deal with the same thing, which is clarinet, classical music, than like fixed mindset where like I have to get into an orchestra, I have to get a job as a professor, I have to do this, I have to do that. It might work for that one person, but like I said, it's not one size fits all. There's so many different ways to take on music, and that's the beauty of it. Is that music is like it's just so many possibilities. I mean, look at me. Like, I had no idea I would be doing something like this and having a podcast with you for Clarinet Magazine. Had I not taken those risks and taking that little baby steps as to what if I did that? What if I did that? Oh man, that didn't work. Okay, maybe I'll try this one this time. So again, it's really having that childlike mindset, being that wonder, like, what if I do this? What if, okay, that didn't work, but what if I do that? What if, take on that what if, like that mindset, and see where that leads up.
That's amazing. I love what you said about creating your own opportunities. I feel like that's so relevant to the time that we're living in, and just coming out stronger on the other side of COVID and just keeping the momentum of the music industry going. So I wanted to ask, what's your next goal or creative endeavor that you're working on now? I know you may not be able to share all the details, but we wanted to get a little inside scoop into what you're planning on doing next.
Oh, well, I have during the COVID time, actually, my some people have come to me to release their albums, and so therefore my Musica Sol became more, became it grew basically, and it's not only my albums. Now I'm representing and putting out other people's albums, which I'm very honored to do. That they trust me with that, their precious project, and that's what there's a couple of really great projects that's coming down the pipeline, and me as a record label, the something that I want to do differently is to give it a best shot, right? Give it care and love and care that it deserves, just as much as how many hours and numerous hours that the musicians put themselves to creating that one track, that one piece of music, writing or arranging, and then you give it to in the olden days, like I said, when you give it to a record label, they release it, and then it's like, and then 1 week later it's nothing, or and so, but nowadays with the internet and all that, there's so much you can do for yourself. So I love to collaborate with the artist and say, hey, what can we do, with this? Like, do you know of anybody? I could do this. So it's really, I like to make it a collaborative effort in releasing and launching an album for other people, so that it does have a bigger launch cushion or period when it does go live. And I just want to know, I just want to, just share that I know what it feels like. So I'm there with you. I'm with the artists, and I'm there holding, side by side, being their partner. So yeah, I have really interesting projects coming up. Mostly clarinet, because I started out as a clarinet label, but I've been taking on other instruments. So that's very exciting.
That is so exciting. I look forward to hearing all of them. And I think it's so special that you can, incorporate your own point of view and your own experiences into helping others to release their albums and have the best launch possible. There's a lot of things that are different in the classical music industry than the commercial music industry as well. So you having the knowledge of both and being able to fuse them together and make it the best situation for the artist is really just amazing. So thank you for all that you do. Where can we find you on social media to connect with you? Maybe Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah, so yeah, you can find me on Instagram as Sunny Clarinet. I'm on Sunny Clarinet on everywhere, I guess. And then if you bold enough to type in my name, Seungheelee, you could see my articles, anything that pops up in the internet. I mean, it's so easy to find people these days online. So if you type up Sunny Clarinet, you can see me. I'm so happy to hear about the Jiffy thing. That is that is something new that I took on, and I created this. I don't know if it's called Jiffy or GIFs, but
I
I've
don't
been
know either.
creating these GIFs for my artists that I represent, and it's like it's a fun way to share something and tag them with that GIF on there, and so it makes it fun. So
It's
I'm so
so
glad you
cute.
found it.
Yes, I love seeing you and David Schifrin on there. You're my clarinet buddies on Instagram. Love it. So thank you so
Wonderful.
much for coming on today. I just wanted to tell all the listeners, make sure to tune in and listen to Sunny's latest release on Spotify, Sweet Dreams, in collaboration with JP Joffrey. It's really cool. It's a modern fusion of instruments and it's very relaxing and cool vibes. So make sure to check it out. And Sunny, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your insight into music entrepreneurship and just sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great pleasure, Sam. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.